What's up, Latino Nation? So we are here with the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams.
How you
Thanks so
doing?
much for being here, my
Good to
friend.
see you. Good to see you.
See you as well. So you made the bold move recently to step away from the Democrat Party and run as an independent. What made you want to make that move?
I think it's even the comment you said when you opened, a lot of people may not have picked up on Latino Nation. The Latino community is a diverse community. It's not monolithic, and the needs are on various different levels. What one would look for as a Wall Streeter is different from someone who's a street vendor. And we must be able to answer all of those issues. And I saw that the traditional Democratic Party stopped speaking to all of those different levels, stopped speaking to the needs. We allowed in the intellectual, philosophical, far left arm of our party to control the narrative and the message, and everyday working people felt as though they were no longer speaking for them. Things around public safety, things around employment, things around creating opportunities. And I'm still a Democrat, but I'm running on an independent line because our democracy allows us to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. I feel like Democrats and Republicans, at the end of the day, we're all Americans and we want the same things, right? We want prosperity, right? We want our families to do a little bit better than we did growing up. We want peace in our streets. And I know that the media has misconstrued a lot of things, as they tend to do. What's one thing that you feel like the media has gotten wrong about your last 4 years in office?
Well, first of all, I think what you said was amazing just now. What are the universalities of what we all want? Well, if you have children and you look at your son or your daughter, your great aspiration is that you want them to do far better than you did. And we probably are going to witness the first generation where that generation is not going to do better than the previous generation. And when you look at the coverage and how the media embraces this concept, if it bleeds, it leads. And you look at what happens in a city like New York with 8.3 million people. Now we're up to 8.5 million people. If you take the worst thing that can happen in the city in a day and use it to drive your narrative, you're actually harming the city. And I think that is the one thing we saw under the last 3 years and 5 months. We saw a city that has recovered through COVID, through crime, through the migrants and asylum seeker crisis, through the loss of employment, through the streets being clean. You look at the list, and then you say, okay, let's do an analysis of what this mayor has done and his administration has done, and you see just the opposite. And I speak to business leaders across the country and tell them, can you come to the city? They said it's not possible because the city is totally out of order. When in fact, we're the safest big city in America. We have recovered all of the jobs. Matter of fact, we have broken records on the number of jobs we've had. We've decreased crime in our city. People are back to work. The energy is back in the city. This is a thriving city that has recovered. And I believe it has been misinterpreted because that does not sell papers and that does not encourage clicks. We have a click and paper selling mindset instead of actually carrying out the truth of a city that has recovered. Bond raters increased my bond when I first got in office, and every year they said, despite what this mayor has gone through, he has shown that he can manage the city, and they continue to increase or show the stability of how they increase the bond and continue to show that every day.
I want to switch gears a little bit. When you came in as a Hispanic American, we're not a monolith, right? And I think there was a notion 4 years ago when Joe Biden took office initially that illegal immigration was something that every single Hispanic American, U.S. citizens who pay their taxes, who work hard, who probably spent a lot of money on lawyers to come here the right way, that we would all support illegal immigration. Now, I know that your views on this issue has shifted. And when I was asked by the media why I'm supporting you so diligently, I said, I respect people's right and their duty, right? In business, if you change your mind and you change course, that's actually a good thing. You need to do that in business, right? So how did you, I would love to hear your thoughts on how you changed from being a sanctuary city to now you're working with Tom Homan and you realized that there was a shift needed in policy.
That's such a great question that you're asking, because there has been a consistency in what I've stated. People want to give the impression that it's shifted. Now, what does that mean? Do you know there is no law, sanctuary city? There is no law. What a sanctuary city concept and mindset is that we don't control the borders, but whomever is in your city, you don't want chaos. So if I did not say to someone that came through the border that I don't control, if I didn't say, if your children are here, they must go to school. If that child is not going to school, that child is going to be sex trafficked, that child is going to be a victim of an unsafe environment, etc. If I didn't say to someone that's here in the city that if you're a victim of a crime, you must call the police. If they don't do that, then they would be victimized because people would know that they're afraid to call the police.
Yeah, they'd say, hey, you can't call the police. You're going to get deported if you call the police.
Exactly.
So I'm going to rob from you.
I saw that as a rookie cop. There was a gentleman who was being robbed, a Chinese American who was being robbed, and I was off duty. When I came to his aid, he was afraid to report it because he said, I'm going to be deported. And that's the same with the hospital. If we didn't have people who are seeking medical care waiting to go to the emergency room, they will overcrowd our emergency room. So what sanctuary city means to me is that if you are here, you go into a store, you buy a loaf of bread, we charge you taxes on that bread. Those tax dollars entitle you to the services of the city. Now, the federal government must determine who's going to be deported. The federal government must determine who comes through the border. The previous administration failed to do that. They didn't secure our border, and then they left the cost of doing these services on the back of cities, Chicago, New York, Denver, and others. I believe that we should live through the spirit of the American dream, because everyone came here from somewhere. And when they're here, and if they're law-abiding, if they are pursuing the American dream, we should give them an opportunity to do so. But once you violate the law, once you commit crimes like we saw the dangerous gang members did over the weekend attacking cops, I'm going to collaborate with ICE and the FBI and HSI and everyone to get dangerous people out of the country, because I know the harm that they do, not only to everyday New Yorkers, but those who are migrants and asylum seekers and immigrants as well. And you know what I heard the most? The average immigrant in this city, an average New Yorker, they didn't have an issue with migrants and asylum seekers. What they had an issue was that when they came to the country, they had to do it and fend for themselves, because everybody found their way in America. What they were angry with is, why are we paying for individuals when we, those who came here, went through the process and found their way? That was the big mistake that was made on the national level. We were getting in busloads. Brother, at one week we were getting almost 4,000. We had to find housing for. I couldn't stop people from coming in the buses. That was against federal law. I couldn't allow people to work. That was against federal law. A group of migrants and asylum seekers came to me and said, can we clean the streets? Can we remove graffiti and give us a stipend? Federal government told me, no, you can't even do that. City law required me to house, feed, clothe, educate 40,000 children, and make sure that they had all the care. So we were successful because my North Star was no child or family should sleep on the street. I didn't control who came into the city, but I had a responsibility not to create disorder. Can you imagine if we would have done what other cities are doing now, having people sleep on the streets, encampments? What business would come to this city if you're living in a city of disorder?
So it was more about the humanitarian crisis that the city effectively had by having thousands of new people coming in. And you had this quote before, you said coming without a plan.
Right. 230-something thousand. That's 1.5 the size of Albany, dropped in our city, nowhere to go. Now, this is what we could have done. Secure the border, allow people to come in through a process that we vetted to make sure they were not criminals, and then say to them, hey, states, you have population problems. Several states in our country are dealing with real population issues. Mr. Johnson, you came into this country, here's where you're going. We need backstretch workers in Kentucky for the racing industry. You will go there and spend 3 years, and after 3 years, then you can go anywhere you want in the country. But if we would have controlled the crisis and not allowed the crisis to control us, it is beyond reasoning that you will parole someone into a country, tell them they can't work for almost a year, if not 2 years, and they're solely dependent on the cities. That made no sense at all.
I absolutely agree. So I know we're running low on time. I have one last question.
Yes.
I feel like the media has probably mistold your story,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll continue to do that. That's what the media loves to do.
Right.
What's, I guess, one big win from your first term in office, and what's one big goal for your next term in office?
Oh, I embrace the theory of Archbishop Desmond Tutu. We spend a lifetime pulling people out of the river. No one goes upstream and prevent them from falling in the first place. We had a government that betrayed everyday New Yorkers. We had a government that watched people fall in the river and then would pull them out. We knew 30 to 40% of our inmates were dyslexic, yet we never did anything upstream to prevent them from falling in the river. We knew that foster care children, 600 or 700, age out every year, and they slip through the cracks of criminality, homelessness, mental health issues, yet we never did anything to stop them from falling in the river. Even our healthcare processes, we have a downstream healthcare mindset. And so what I am pleased about is that I shifted the mindset that we will go upstream and create solutions, investing in foster care children, paying their college tuition, giving them life coaches to 21 years old, changing our healthcare system to life, different forms of alternative medicine, lifestyle medicine, so that they can have healthier food, changing the food in our school, teaching our children the things that they need to do, building housing. We broke records in year 1 and year 2 on the amount of housing built in 1 year. We're going to do it in year 3. Returning our jobs. We have more jobs in the city history in the city. More small businesses are open in city history. Free high-speed broadband for NYCHA residents. So there are a lot of things. But at the heart of all those things is public safety. Public safety is a prerequisite to prosperity. We must be safe as a city. When you could have a quarter like we just had in the last quarter, first of all, 5 straight months of decreasing crime, the major crimes in the city. Every quarter is 3 months, so that's 15 straight months of decreasing crime. And you're watching in this last quarter with the lowest number of shootings in the history of the city, recorded history of the city. Those are major changes, because every life that you save is a life that would be productive and have opportunities. To remove 21,000 illegal guns off our streets and bring down crime, to allow our subway to be safer at record levels, that meant a lot to me, because I ran on that. I know how important it is to be safe as a city, because from that safety, that's the fertile ground that the forest of opportunity will grow, and we are producing that safety every day.
I love that. Yeah, and I think as a previous member of the NYPD, I definitely see why you think safety should be first.
Yes.
Eric Adams, I want to thank you so much for doing this, my friend. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you.